Hey everyone, my hair is looking a little bit crazy. I was supposed to go into my hairstylist last Thursday. We got snowed out and I wasn't able to see her. So I have this interesting thing happening. I'll show you. Let me see if it shows up on camera where I have all of these these little things sticking out of my balding spots. It can't be that I have growth that quickly because, well, maybe because I used Vegamore. You've seen commercials for Vegamore, I'm sure, on YouTube. Maybe you haven't. If you haven't, they're in little pink bottles and it's like a hair growth serum. So I used that for a while and then stopped using that. And I forget why I stopped using it, but then I started using Rogaine. And so I don't know if this is new growth right here. You see this like shorter hair, or if it's just hair that has broken off from me fussing with my hair so much. So that's where we're at. And it's going to look a little bit crazy. I want to do a little bit of get ready with me today with all of you and just share recent reflections. I am also getting ready to film, not today, maybe tomorrow, the day after, maybe after I post this video, because I'm asking your opinion. So I need some time to get your opinions. And that is, I'm doing a February favorites video, and I'm not sure whether to focus on makeup, skincare, hair care, or other sort of lifestyle like clothing and other things, objects around me that bring me joy. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I posted a poll on this earlier today. I'm filming on Sunday, and some people have started to respond. So I'm excited to see what the results of that are. I've already put my base makeup on, and today the winners were, I'm still trying to use up this NYX Marshmallow Primer, at least use it a little bit more. I don't have to use it all the way up. And then I put on the Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation, oldie but a goodie. I mean, this never, I was going to say it never gets old. This actually is an old foundation, but the coverage that it gives you doesn't get old, if you know what I mean. This is in the color 3N1, 3 Neutral 1 Ivory Beige. And I do want to get a bit of a darker color, but I'm a little pale today, and so this worked out just fine. For my concealer, I used the Pat McGrath concealer. I forget what it's called, but it has Skin Fetish in the name, and it's in the color Light Medium 14. It was okay. I don't think it did super well underneath my eyes in terms of not creasing, but you know how it is. You just got to continue to pat it out a few times. And then I use that same discontinued Marc Jacobs powder, 34 Invisible Finish Line, Perfecting Coconut Setting Powder. I'm on this kick to finish up some setting powders, or at least use them down where I feel comfortable getting rid of them. I'm going to challenge myself to use a palette I haven't used in a while today. I need y'all to light a candle for me because this really wasn't the look that I was going for, but I do this random number generator. It's not an app, but it's like a website that I go to. It's called Random Number Generator, but I don't know what to do. Like I have 13 eyeshadow palettes up on that shelf. So I type in the number 1 to 13, I hit the little button and it pops out a number. So the number that came out landed me on the Natasha Denona Pastel palette. I'm actually going to talk about her new palette here in just a minute. And if you remember this color palette, it is one of the hardest to work with because the colors are so bright. It's like Easter eggs, you know, which I think is really pretty. I think I want to stick in the pink range, pink and purple. So I may use this through the crease and maybe do that on the eyelid and a little bit of sparkle Arkle with that, and maybe that on the inner corner, or that, I don't really know yet. So let's see and hope that I come out with a reasonable look, because one of the topics I want to talk about today is how my style in general has probably changed. Not probably, it has changed in the past few years when it comes to the products that I use and that I'm attracted to. I'm going to start off actually with a bronzer that is an oldie but a goodie. This is from Becca. I don't even think these are made anymore. Becca was bought out, wasn't it by Stila? Am I right about that? Anyway, it's called the Sunlit Bronzer in Capri Coast. So sorry that I'm showing you all old products, but I really do like these and still enjoy using them. So I hope that that is okay with you all. All right, so I wanted to start off with a conversation about gratitude. I think it was last year in the holiday timeframe when I was talking about, since I was going to be turning 50. Yes, that topic again. Sorry, I know y'all are probably sick of it. Like, we get it, Veronica, you're 50, move on. Well, I talked about putting together like a list of 50 things or 100 things or whatever that I'm grateful for. And then it got overwhelming. Oh my God, do I have dandruff? I better not. I just washed and blow dried my hair. Y'all, look at this little gray patch. Look at that. Look at it. I have been seeing a lot of full gray heads on social media lately, and I really like it. I think I would be salt and pepper if I didn't color my hair. And I'm seriously exploring that for the next 5 years, like as a goal. I don't like that this bronzer isn't dark enough. It's almost like too golden. I'm going to need a little bit more, but let me finish working with this. Back to the topic at hand, gratitude. I never sat down to do the list. That's not true. Excuse me. I sat down and I started, and then I got overwhelmed because there is so much to be grateful for. And then I was like, I'm going to try to do this list and I'm going to forget things. So I had this idea today to maybe just incorporate it into the beginning of some of my videos here on this channel. And then they would add up to 50 or more by the end of the year. And I think that's kind of cool. So if that is okay with you all, I have 3 things today that I want to highlight as being grateful about. The first is vain, but I'm just being honest with y'all because I always am on this channel. I fit back into my clothing in my closet, and I'm so excited about that. I can't tell you how upsetting it was to not fit into my clothing for so long and have to constantly be sizing up when I was shopping. And so I'm really, really grateful for the weight loss. I'm grateful that I can walk into my closet and choose anything off of the shelves. I can choose any pair of pants. I think I can fit into even a 6 now. So look, that's a miracle for me. There may be those of you out there that are much smaller than that and think 6 feels huge. But for me, it's quite an accomplishment to fit back into a size 6 and to buy medium tops and maybe even a small here and there. What I have found is that a lot of the sort of sweaters and things that I purchased as a large are just not working for me anymore. Well, some are and some are not. It depends on the cut and it depends on how it was, made or whatever. And so most of my larges I have started to put in like a Goodwill pile. So the point being, the gratitude part, I am happy to, here's the thing. Yes, it's vain, but it's less about the vanity thing and more about just the comfort and the security and the peace of mind of knowing that I can walk into my closet and choose anything from any shelf, and it will either fit me at this point or be too large. Nothing's going to be too small where I'm trying to stuff myself in like a little sausage poking out of its casing. I had a lot of mornings like that, and I'm going to tell you what, they were miserable. I hated it. I hate it when we were going out to dinner for date night or whatever, and I was sitting in my closet struggling to find something that I didn't feel uncomfortable in and that buttoned up okay, zipped up just fine. Gosh. So I am grateful. Let me stop there on that one. I also want to express gratitude for the wonderful people around me. As I continue to get older, it becomes more and more important to me that I take the riffraff out of my life or keep it out at this point and only surround myself with people who want the best for me and who I also want the best for. It's a priceless sense of security to know that most of the people, not all, because you never know, folks, if there's someone in your group that just doesn't wish you well. But I think I've gotten better at knowing who those people are sooner and distancing myself from them or never allowing them to get close to me in the first place. That I think is like the wisdom of age. And I'm really grateful for that. And I feel like the people that are around me now, so this is my colleagues who I absolutely adore and think are wonderful folks. This is my family, of course. I mean, there are some family members that I just don't mess with like that, if you know what I mean, because I know better about them and I stay away from them. But I do have some fabulous, fabulous family members that I always think about and wish the best for. The same thing is true of the friends that are in my life, the people that I am still in touch with, who I call a friend rather than just an acquaintance or whatever. They are really like true blue people who have proven themselves to me. I have proven myself to them, and I trust them. I keep in touch with them. I wish them well. I pray for them at night. I'm in their prayers and they're in mine. That is just really, really fantastic. Let me try the Bare Minerals Tan Bronzer on top of that. That's a little bit darker. I know y'all are probably like, you look fine, Veronica, you're bugging out, but let me just do my thing. So I have also gotten pretty good at figuring out the same thing for YouTube friends as well. There are some content creators who I just adore and I root for them. They root for me. We cheer each other on. We share ideas or whatever. And I'm going to tell you what, just like in any other arena of life, there are wolves in sheep's clothing. And I have gotten a lot better over time at figuring out who those people are and keeping away from them. I mean, I've kind of gotten caught up in supporting some people that I later found out maybe were not worthy of support. I think I was fooled by a person or two who pretended to be nice, be a friend or whatever, and later on realized that they were actually just using you. I don't get into all the ways that people can use you on this side of content creation, but it does happen, just like it does in any other arena of life. And I've gotten wiser and smarter about that and cut out some people, including some people that everybody else thinks is absolutely fantastic and angelic. And I just see right through that. And so that is the point of gratitude. I have great people around me that I actually trust and I think are really good people. And I have slowly but surely cut out the rest. And it's a blessing. I'm very, very grateful for the people in my life. And the third thing, and I'm going to connect this back to a message later on, I am so grateful that our children have a much better chance at a greater, more fulfilling, happier life than maybe we will ever lead. And I love that for them. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty happy right now at this place in my life, but it took me a while to get here. And it took my husband a while to get to where he is. And I'd like for our kids to be accelerated in their success and happiness. And I think the conditions are right for that, which I'm super, super grateful for. How are we doing on the bronzer? Is this looking natural or does it feel like overkill? I mean, I feel like I can never have too much bronzer. Like, make it even browner and darker. I'm loving it. I like for the jawline to look chiseled, even if it's not. And putting a little bit of brown underneath or something darker than whatever your skin tone is, particularly if you are, aging and have a little bit of, a little neck hanging down, it may help to just kind of camouflage. And friends, this is just for pictures and videos and things like that. In everyday life, people can clearly see that you have, a lot of bronzer down there, so it doesn't quite work. All right, so I'm going to turn to a frivolous topic and then I'll get to more serious stuff. My husband and I have been watching a show called The Leftovers. The Leftovers. So I will put like one of the pictures of the advertisement pictures on the screen here. Let me move over so I have a little slot for it. Have you been watching The Leftovers? Have you watched it already? What I want to say about The Leftovers is that it is really creepy in ways that it doesn't need to be. So the reason that we are watching The Leftovers is because we are waiting for season, let's see here, what season would it be? Is it 6? Of From, From, to come on. If you've been with me, you know I love this show. And if you're newer, here is what one of the pictures, the advertisement pictures looks like. That cast is phenomenal on the show From. I mean, there's some annoying folks and whatever, like on any cast, but my husband and I just adore From. When the last season ended, I think it was late fall, early winter when it ended, I was actually physically distraught and sad that I wasn't going to be able to see any more shows of From. Let me pause. I'm going to go into this color first as sort of an overall color. Do I want something else in the background? Well, I guess the bronzer acts as a little bit of a background shade. So let's go in with that. I guess I'll just say I'm sticking in the purple. So you'll see this go on, maybe this, and perhaps that color as well. Let's get to it. So as a distraction, while I wait for From to come back on, and by the way, the other show that I'm waiting to get into season 5 is Stranger Things. So this is the show that starts off based in the 80s with the little kids. It's almost like a combination of like E.T., The Goonies, all of those kids, that sort of vibe of those movies when they're little together in a town. And it's called Stranger Things because there's some supernatural activity that's happening. And I've mentioned before that I fell deeply in love from like a motherly perspective. This is kind of creepy if you're new. So hang on. I will explain in just a second. I fell deeply in love with Millie Bobby Brown to the point where I was very concerned for her character on the show. And I had this like weird motherly instinct toward this young lady. She's now no longer a young lady. She's now grown up. I believe she's married, right? I think I saw her wedding pictures or planning for wedding or whatever to the son of John Bon Jovi. So she married him. Millie Bobby Brown is precious, precious, precious young woman. God bless her. But anyway, I was introduced to her first time on Stranger Things when she was 11, like the number 11. So you have to watch the show to understand what that means and why she was called the number 11. And anyway, the whole cast is just absolutely adorable, darling. I felt like I knew those kids, like from a motherly perspective, and I knew kids like that when I was younger in my 80s. And now they're all, grown up, young people in their 20s. And I follow them on social media. Well, are they in their 20s? They're either in their super duper late teens or early 20s, somewhere in there, the young kids on the show. Winona Ryder is on the show. I forget the name of the guy that's on the show, but the cast is just phenomenal. So I'm waiting for Stranger Things season 5 to come on. And I understand that that's going to be the end of the show, that we will not have any more seasons. I am so heartbroken about that. I don't even know what to do myself. So between that show and From, TV was highly entertaining when those two shows were on for me. I even went so far as to rewatch all of the seasons of From over like 2 weekends when the last season went off. I was like, I'm missing From, and I had to start it all over again. And it's one of those shows that it has all these clues that build up to show you or to demonstrate to you or to clue you in or whatever the expression is to what the mystery is on the show. And they have like all these Easter eggs, as they're called, all over the show, these little like signs and things that you have to look for as you go along. And then it all becomes clearer at the end. So where am I going with this? So I watched all of the shows again, every episode of every season of From, and feel very prepared for season 6. So in the meantime, between time, I mean, we're watching stuff like I'm watching The Housewives, all of the cities of The Housewives. We're watching 90 Day Fiance and other shows like Love is Blind and things like that that come on. Those are all fun for us. But I'm really waiting for those 2 shows to come back on. My husband is watching Severance. I kind of like Severance, and there are parts of it that just were a little bit off for me where I had a hard time following, and I kind of got bored. So he loves that. I think, did one of you, Liz, was it you that suggested Wayward Pines? I think I want to watch that. So I started to watch The Leftovers. The premise of the show, we're only on season 1 and we're into episode maybe 5-ish, somewhere in there. It starts off with young children being stolen mysteriously. Like little toddlers, little kids being stolen like out of car seats, off of playgrounds and things like that. And it's called The Departure. The Departure. And so as the show progresses, you learn that there is a department of Department of Departure to study the departed. There's also a group of people that show up in white, and they are called the Guilty, not Covenant, GC, Guilty something. Guilty cult, something like that. Anyway, they show up in random places and just stare. They represent the guilt that the people that were left behind, the leftovers, feel for the others having been stolen and departed. And where I'm going with this is this show has so much potential. It has a rock star cast, Justin Theroux and other people like that are just really fabulous. However, it takes advantage of every potential shock factor possible in a show, which I greatly dislike. And I feel like it's cheap and it takes advantage of the audience's vulnerability. So an example of that is Justin Theroux plays a cop. His daughter and his daughter's friend end up at some party. And then the show spends an entire, I want to say like 15 or 20 minutes of 1 hour long episode going around this party and showing all of the crazy things that the kids did at the party, including inappropriate sexual activity, drugs, alcohol. I mean, you name it. It just went on. And it was like, there's a word that I'm trying to think of that's not coming to mind. And it's not like gratuitous, but there's something along those lines. And it really bothered me. It's like, you could have suggested that was the stuff going on at the party without actually showing the actions. Like watching teenage actors. I mean, I'm sure they're not teenagers. I'm sure they're adult actors playing teenagers, but showing them like thrusting in rooms and things like that, thrusting on each other, like in a sexual way. I'm like, come on, we don't really need to see all of that. Like kids sniffing lines and stuff. The shock factor goes too far when it comes to the sexual relationships. And here's the thing that I notice, and I wonder if you all feel the same way. I am noticing more and more that today's television shows, when it comes to sexual activity and showing like people kissing or having sex, I remember when I was younger that there was like a suggestion of a kiss, or maybe people kissed and there was music that played. Now I feel, and it was only like a few seconds, right? You didn't have like a whole porn scene happening in movies. And maybe I just, have like this romanticized memory of how little of that was in shows and movies back in the 80s. So correct me if I'm wrong and if you feel differently, but I was remarking to my husband that I feel like now more than ever, we are seeing entire full sexual acts happening in shows and in movies. And I'm like, I didn't need all of that. It's okay to intimate that that's about to happen. Maybe people are taking off their clothes and heading to the bedroom, and perhaps you see them, laying in the bed, but you don't actually see things moving and touching each other. I don't know. It feels like too much. And I feel like the music is toned down and we're hearing more of like the kissing noises and stuff. And I don't know how y'all feel, but I feel like that is weird and just inappropriate and totally unnecessary. I'm like, I can get the picture of what's happening here without you having to shove it down my throat. So that's what I mean. And I think the same thing happens with other shock factor scenes. I mean, I won't get into a whole bunch of details, but that has really bothered me. So I wanted to ask, do you all see the same thing? And if you see it, does it bother you as much? Or are you like, yeah, whatever, it doesn't bother me at all? I feel like we're almost becoming jaded to how obvious and how literal some of these scenes are in today's TV and movies, TV shows and movies. I think I strongly dislike this heavily pastel look, but I'm gonna keep playing with it and we're gonna make this work. I think this is all I'm willing to do out of this pastel palette. I used 4 different colors on my eyes, but you can't tell because it's all kind of purpley, pinky purpley, which is okay. I mean, this in and of itself is just fine, but I wanted a deeper look. So I'm gonna dip into a discontinued product. I'm sorry, what a horrible YouTuber I am. But the Park Avenue Princess palette from Tarte. Do you guys remember this? This was one of the best one of the best. Is it still sold? I haven't seen it anywhere. The best bronzer, and I think this can be used as a little bit like concealer or setting powder, these two, but I really like these for here, and it came with a mirror and everything. Have y'all seen this anywhere? I don't even think it's sold. And it smells like chocolate, which is nice. But I need something I want something a little bit darker to develop the crease, and I want maybe a little bit of brown under the eye. So I think that's all I wanted to say about The Leftovers. I was wondering if anybody else was feeling that shock factor effect of shows, and if you feel like those scenes get shoved down your throat so that you feel uncomfortable as a viewer. And the way that I feel, and my husband knows this, if I feel uncomfortable as a viewer, there's only so much discomfort I can take. So I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it. If you want to see it and you haven't seen it, please skip ahead about maybe a minute or so, because I'm going to say something. If you have seen it, there is a scene where there's like, they call it a cult activity. They blame it on a cult activity. And a woman is taken, one of the people that's all in white, she's taken out to the woods, and she is she's strapped to a tree. And this happens in the middle of the night. This is an older woman, middle age, and the people that are accused of being in the cult, they stone her to death. And it's a scene that's very vivid. It's not intimated. It's just very obvious. You're watching these people throw big stones at this woman's head. You're watching her bleed out until she dies. And it is brutal. And I was sitting there like, we were watching it in bed. I'm clenching the covers. Like, I feel very uncomfortable watching this. I realize that there's a value to that at some times, but my point is, I'm feeling more and more like shows are taking advantage of viewers and shoving these types of things down their throat. There are artistic ways to show that these things are happening in the movie, sort of show as part of the storyline. You don't need to show the entire thing for us to understand what happens. Like, that type of stuff disturbs me, and I lose sleep over it. So that kind of bothered me. Anyway, here we are sticking with The Leftovers, trying to see it through. We saw on a Reddit thread that you should make it to at least episode 6 of season 1 to really get a good understanding of what's happening. We don't know yet why people were stolen, like babies were stolen and stuff, and where they've gone. We have no idea. That hasn't been revealed yet. All right, I have started to put some of the browner shade in here, like through the crease, and I feel like it's calming down the purple while still being purple, if that makes sense. So it's not uber pastel. And I'm going to put a strong eyeliner on and some false lashes, and I think that'll take care of the eye look. And I might do like a little crazy inner corner highlight type of thing. So that's all I wanted to say about The Leftovers. Let us move on to a new topic. The Natasha Denona new palette. What is this thing called? Hang on a second. I think it's called the Bloom palette. And my understanding is that she did the artwork. It's not my understanding. I know for a fact she did the artwork. I watched a video where she is painting the watercolors that are going onto the cover of the artwork. So if you look at this palette, so I'm moving into talking about how fickle we are on social media. We are so accustomed to new products coming out all the time. We want to be wowed by new products on the market. I'm going to get into a topic about that next. And I feel like we are a very fickle audience in that we run from one thing to the next, myself included. I am guilty. So when this palette was announced, the launch, the way that people have critiqued this palette, myself included, I don't plan to purchase this unless there is an unless. I see that content creators are buying it and actually making really pretty looks out of it. So this eyeshadow palette, it looks nice. This is what I'm getting at. This is a just fine eyeshadow palette. It looks very pretty. The artwork on it is beautiful, created by Natasha Denona. I really do like the way the packaging that she puts together. Everything is a little unique. They're all similar shaped, but the artwork on them or the colors or whatever are unique to express what's in the palette. And I like that. I think it's a cool touch. But people are already destroying this palette in terms of reviews. This is boring. I don't want this. Next, pass, whatever. And of course, people have every right to decide where they want to spend their own money. Just because there's a new release by somebody that I like doesn't mean that anybody else has to go purchase the thing, of course. But my point being, we just act very diva-ish on this side of things in terms of our opinions of new products. And we want to be wowed by something that maybe 15 years ago we would have been wowed about or just as happy to just have. So this like new tendency to feel like we need to be wowed by every product that comes out is just an interesting thing to note about the way that social media and influencers and everything have kind of changed the game in the beauty space. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's an obnoxious thing. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it myself. So I'm just remarking that it's a very interesting thing to observe happen and wanted to know your thoughts on this palette in particular. So my current palettes are actually similar to the impressions that people are having. This seems like something I probably already have in my collection. However, I do respect her artistry as a makeup artist. And I think that this is going to be a very nice palette for people that don't already have these colors in their collection, or they're looking for a cohesive palette that looks like this. So in that sense, I think it's fine. Are you planning to pick up the Natasha Denona palette, or is it a pass for you? Do let me know. Let me finish the eye look and I'll be right back. I don't remember where I was, but I do have something else that I want to talk about. I was going to say quickly, but it really isn't quickly. I wanted to share what I went ahead and did. Let me make sure. Sometimes you can see the glue of the eyelashes over the top. I forgot to do this. I have this from Sephora and it's open on the sides. Let me put it here. This is an open curler from Sephora. I don't even know if I'm using it the right way, but this is the way I have been using it. And it's designed for when you put on false lashes that are pretty big and maybe, oh my God, I think I'm lifting. No. Okay, it stayed on. Jeez. Y'all, me and the false eyelashes, we are not friends and it is not my best thing. In fact, I have thought about what would it be like for me to create my own eyelash that is easy to apply. People have attempted that. There are like magnetic versions. There's smaller little clustered versions and things like that. I'll leave that to other professionals. But I do like the look of false eyelashes, especially when they are not obnoxiously huge. I think these are very acceptable. So anyway, false eyelashes, these are actually half lashes. They're not like a whole full lash that you have to cut. So it's easier to put these on without fuss. My blush is from Buxom. It's the Wanderlust Primer Infused Blush in the color Ibiza. I don't even know if these are sold anymore, but I love this. Really cool toned, almost purpley pink color. And then I did do a little bit of highlighter underneath the blush with one of the old Becca highlighters. When I found out that Becca was going out of sale, I went on the site, went a little bit crazy and probably purchased too much, but they were on ridiculous sale. This color is called Pearl. So there's a little bit, you can see the little bit of white sheen underneath the Buxom blush. For eyeliner, I used the good old Wet n Wild Yin Transformation. No, that's not what it's called. You're the Yin is the name of it. You're the Yin. I don't even know if this is sold anymore. This is a very crumbly formula. Like it goes on really smooth, but if you look up close, there are little crumbles. So you just have to be careful if you buy this, if it's still available. And I think I'm going to do a little bit of inner corner highlight with this ColourPop Shock Shadow. Not shadow, excuse me. What are you called? Super Shock Cheek in the color Flexitarian. I'm not putting this on my cheek because it's way too bright, but I think it serves as a good inner corner highlight on your eyes. See how, look at that. And it's flexitarian, but it could be literally called like extraterrestrial because it's so dang bright. All right, I maybe overdid it. I feel like it goes too much in. Let me try to blot this out. So let me change topics and talk about like a change of style that I feel like I'm going through here. Maybe because of age, maybe just because I'm going through phases. Let me open my little Coke Zero while I talk about this. Occasionally, I will see like my old videos pop up. So I started the fragrance channel back in 2020, the last month of 2020, December. So I'm in my 5th year of YouTube. This channel I have had, I think, 2 years, maybe 3. I don't remember exactly when I started this one. But what I'm bringing up is that when I look at the old videos, I had a very different style at one point. I mean, my hair was dramatically different. I had almost blonde highlights, like dirty blonde highlights through my hair. And I used to wear my hair super big and with curls and a lot of volume at the roots and that sort of stuff. Like I still put in some volumizing products, but as my hair is thinning, it's a different style. And I find that it's more flattering without the blonde now than I had it before. So let me pause. This is not me looking back at my old self and criticizing my old self. Like we shouldn't do that to ourselves. We do the best that we can with the information that we have at that time, including our style choices, our makeup choices, our hair, all of the things, right? So by no means am I looking back at myself and criticizing myself. I thought I looked cute at the time, that's for sure. But what I'm saying is that my style has changed a lot. So no more blonde highlights. And since I was introduced to a different kind of jewelry when I did the partnership with IDYL Jewelry, this is not an IDYL Jewelry advertisement. So just know that. I started to wear lighter jewelry. I started to do my hair differently. I have, in the past year or so been migrating more towards simple looks like the one that you're looking at. I forgot to put on a lip. I'll put on a pink lip in a minute so I don't stay with this brown lip. But just, it's dramatic makeup, but in the subtlest of ways. Like I have a shit ton of makeup on right now, but when I look back at my old videos, I wore really bright shades. I experimented a lot with blues and purples and greens and really bright silvers and all of this thing. And I don't have any regrets about that. But the point that I'm making is that I feel like my style is becoming more subtle, recently, like in the past, year or two maybe, and that's okay. Like we go through phases. So as my personal taste and style has changed, so too have my makeup choices. So too has the products that I purchase. I am finding myself buying a whole lot more nudes in terms of nail polish, for example. Colors like this, really simple, muted tones. I still, by the way, love, love, love my bright purpley and red tones and greens and blues, and I still have those. So it's not that I'm completely abandoning that. It's just that for some reason, I'm choosing more subtle tones overall and like a more subdued package, subdued hair, subdued makeup, subdued nails, subdued jewelry. I have a lot of huge, big, chunky rings, for example, big, chunky chokers and things like that that I still adore. But I notice in the older videos that I look a lot older. And a couple of you have actually pointed that out to me as kindly as you can. I don't think those comments were ill intended at all. In fact, they were, I think, complimenting me on the new style. So thank you. But I noticed it too, is what I want to say. Even before people commented on it, I'm like, wow, I like those pieces, but I just look different in them. And so as I'm in this stage of wanting to look my best, my style has changed and the products that I use have changed. I'm going to pause to put on a lip real quick before I finish this statement. This is Candy Flip. Speaking of subtle colors, this is not subtle at all. Let me just kind of check it and see if it's going to work. I am wearing a pink shirt to film. Let's go for it. I think that will actually work out. It's a little bright, maybe a little more sort of corally toned as compared to the purpley tones in the eye and the cheek look. But I can roll with this for now. This is antithetical to what I'm saying to you about subtle style. This is not a subtle lip color, but styles have changed, preferences have changed, jewelry, makeup, all of that. And so it brings me to this question of packaging. So I have a question for you. I am now drawn to more classic and subtle packaging on products. Packaging has become more important to me than ever, I think, because I handle so many of my products every day that I want the packaging part to be a good experience as well. I'll give you an example. This is an old brush from BH Cosmetics. These are not sold anymore. I understand that the company actually folded, but I purchased this marble colored series of brushes. I actually like the handle on this. I think it's really cool. I think subtle packaging like the Estee Lauder packaging is lovely. I don't even mind like this color pop piece here. I mean, this is designed for a younger crowd and I use it anyway. You can tell by the way that the font looks and like the marketing, right? But I am really drawn to very classy, simple packaging. Here's an example. So this is the Lisa Eldridge. What is this called? What are you? I think it's called the Rouge, Velvet Rouge or Rouge. I might be mixing up things, but this is her latest lipstick launch. And you may remember me talking about this component that you purchase the component. It's very, very heavy. It's full metal. And then the piece on the inside, you can switch out the lipstick colors, right? So the idea is that this looks like vintage makeup. It has a certain type of like timeless elegance. Lisa Eldridge, her logo is stamped here, and then my initials are on the other side. And it's just classy and simple and something that I could see using until, God willing, I live into elderly stages, that I can use this into that stage, assuming that the products for the inside, the inserts are still sold. I like the Natasha Denona lipsticks. I mean, these are simple and sleek, this kind of, I think the idea is simple lines, simple design, simple colors are attracting me. That's not to say that I don't purchase other kinds of products. Of course I do, but my eye is drawn to the classic looking things. Here's another example, the Gucci bronzers. So this does have a bright color, but it has this nice gold wraparound. It is a beautiful little component. It's fun to handle. They even stamped it on the inside, embossed it with, the Gucci logo and this sort of floral motif. Compared to, for example, Tower 28. I still like this. This is this nice bronzy, it's supposed to be a blush. It's called Bronzino West Coast, but the lettering on the package is not attractive to me. Just simple things like that. So here's an example of packaging I don't like, and it's a little bit higher end. This is a Pat McGrath lipstick. It looks great online. Now, when you hold this in hand, it has the little lip wraparound. Here is another Pat McGrath lipstick. They're different formulas. This one has a little bow on it. The tube itself is okay, but the addition of these little sort of rings around them, I find that it cheapens the look of the product. I still like the product and I'll keep these. Do you get what I'm saying? Someone who has mastered lipstick packaging, Charlotte Tilbury. Now look at this. Well, you look at this. It has these little it looks like crystal inserts. I don't know if the actual crystal inserts are just the impression of, but very, very nicely done. Here are a couple of her other packages. This one is called Red Hot Susan. It's a nice, almost orangey red, beautiful color. and then only Muse, and that color looks like this. But my point is that these packages are nice to handle. They're substantial. They feel good. They don't feel cheap. They don't feel gaudy. I mean, even though these are lower in price, L'Oreal nailed the lipstick packaging. This is simple and sleek. This is a collection with Jennifer Lopez, which is why you see J-Lo there. But usually you just see that kind of component. Simple, sleek. My question to you all is, what kind of packaging are you attracted to, if packaging matters? Do you like a certain kind of color scheme? For example, are you attracted to cream looking packaging? Are you attracted to gold or silver? Do you like packaging that has a lot of bling and flash? Do you like simple, understated packaging? I'm wondering what your thoughts are on packaging. I know that sounds like a shallow conversation, but look, if you apply makeup every day, every other day, once a week, you're handling your products. And I like the whole experience, right? I want it to look nice. I like handling the pastel palette. Like from a texture perspective, this feels good. I like the ombre effect on here. I like the simplicity of the design. And I like that when you open it, there are little touches like this blue wraparound, this almost like white with a slight lilac tone in it, casing for all of the shadows. You get the idea. What do you think about packaging? How important is packaging to you or not? Let me know. I had a much more serious topic to talk about, but we've gone on and on with this. Get ready with me here. So I'm going to pause the video where we are. I have lipstick in my teeth again. You guys, how come nobody tells me these things? Lord have mercy. Okay, I think that should take care of the lipstick issue. I feel like this should be pinker. What do you all think? It's almost like too corally for this look. Hang on, let's tone this down before we close out this video. This one is from Milani, and it's called I Am Awesome, the color 03. It's a little bit lighter. Let's see if it tones down this crazy corally orange. Just a little bit, and I like that. I like that the edges are more corally, and then in the middle you get that sort of more muted, neutral, actually it's a cool tone, cool tone pink. All right, friends, this is the end of the video. In the next video, let me swing that to the back. I would really like to talk about, because I started the video about the gratitude thing and I said, I'm going to connect this to the end. Let's save it for another video. I want to talk about life cycles. And I'm not talking about life and death for humans. I'm talking about just nature, the way that we cycle through seasons and how those seasons are mirrored in the events in our life. I've been thinking about something very deeply lately and talking with my husband about it. We've just sort of reflecting on how the circumstances around us have changed and how we as a couple want to respond to those changes. Myself in particular, I've been going through something a lot more deeply, I think, than him. Nothing bad at all. Okay. Just life changes and reflections and things. So he and I have been having a lot of long talks about sort of a different direction we want to take with some things that are happening in our life that are externally controlled. I'll share more about that in another video, but I want you to be thinking about this question for our next talk. If you could go back in time, what would you do differently in the different decades of your life? Let's think about it that way. If you knew what you knew now, what would you have done differently in your teens, in your 20s, your 30s, 40s, and I'm going to stop at 50 because that's where I am. Some of you that watch are in your 60s and 70s and maybe even 80s. Would love to hear your thoughts too. So be thinking about that. That's like our homework assignment as a little YouTube channel community, if that's okay with you. And we will talk about it next time. We'll dive in that way. Take care, friends. I'll see you in the next one.